Next on our list, we have Bert Bomhoff.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm a Falconer, and I'm here to talk about non-resident take of falcons. There's a lot of statistics. There's thousands of birds in Alaska, and they only want 20, or they only want 80, or whatever. That's not the statistic that matters. You can manipulate statistics, and I've never seen an example of a worse manipulation than this, because the number of eyries that are accessible to a resident that you can park and hike into is, you can count on one hand probably. I've asked all of my falconry friends how many eyries you think are accessible to a resident, and most of them said half a dozen. One of them says probably a dozen, and one of them said, well, gee whiz, you know, and this is not knowing them, but just saying, probably 20 if you really looked. 20. They want to take 20. Non-residents want to take 20. We talk about predators, and I know that biologists like to talk about what predators do. Well, we're a predator, and we're probably the most effective one there is. The real statistic to me is how many eyries are available and how many are these guys going to take. Non-residents will be impossible to regulate in the field of falconry. Right now, non-residents don't dare take falcons out of here, because if they get caught with a bird, they're screwed. I mean, they got no excuse, nowhere to go, and it's a major crime. You give him a piece of paper, he'll take that bird anywhere he wants. You cannot monitor where they take those birds. You can't watch every eyrie. It's a matter of going in, taking it, and getting in your car, and once it's in a car with a piece of paper, the guy's home free. So you got a situation that you cannot regulate. The cost of regulating it now is pretty much negligible. Alaskans take a half a dozen birds a year, and everybody knows that, and it's not a big thing. Doesn't require a lot of monitoring, doesn't require a lot of regulation, doesn't require a lot of enforcement. It's inexpensive, and it's a sport that pretty much manages itself. You send in your report every year, and that's about it. A lot of Alaska is federal land. You know how the feds come in here and regulate fish and game in every other way. Okay, picture this. The guys that want this rule are a bunch of wealthy falcon breeders from outside. It's highly unlikely that any bird they take out of Alaska will ever be hunted. They're too valuable for the bloodline. For a wild-caught bird whose ancestors had to survive natural selection for centuries, that bird's priceless to a breeder. So all you're doing is you're allowing wealthy breeders from outside to come in here and take birds and take them back and put them in programs. We've got a handful of falconers up here. There's 3,500 or so falconers across the United States. There aren't many game animals, I don't think, that aren't also open to alien non-residents. If you open up falconry take to non-resident aliens, it's a terrible thing. They've got so much money and so much pressure and so much clout and so much lobbying ability and so many expensive lawyers that once you crack that door, we're screwed. The resident falconer will be out of luck. There's no way I would argue that from a biological standpoint you can't take a handful of birds out of here. That's not the issue. The issue is the birds that are accessible to a resident falconer will be devastated by non-resident take. This is it. It's our last chance. If the door is cracked open, it'll be pushed wide open. These guys are powerful. They've shown themselves to be. They got money, talent, expertise, lobbyists. They'll push until it screws it totally. So I guess what I'm here to do is to just beg you to preserve the one last thing that Alaska has that I know of that is like it was, that hasn't been screwed by too many people and too much activity. I appreciate being here. I appreciate your listening. Be happy to answer questions.
So am I hearing you correctly that you do not want to see us allow for any non-resident take, whether they're non-resident or non-resident alien?
That's correct. I'm 100% opposed to any non-resident take. You cannot regulate it. You cannot stop a guy from driving. They'll find out where the eyries are. There won't be anybody there to stop anybody from going in, taking a bird, and once he's got it in his car with that permit, this 5-mile limit to me is bogus. It's not enforceable. And the thing you'll do is you're going to require biologists, you're going to require regulatory, you're going to require enforcement that won't begin to be paid for by fees. There's no way you can charge enough fees for the birds to equate to what they're actually worth once you get them out of here.